Hey, all cheaters. Welcome to the Always Cheating Podcast. My name is Josh. I'm here with Brandon. Brandon, how are you?
I'm all right, Josh.
Kind of slow.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a little worried because it's we fell back, Brandon. We in America this last night was our fallback. So for us, we're actually recording this after 9. I mean, it's 8:00 on the official clock, Brandon. But my body clock is telling me that it's 9:08 p.m. right now. So
Sure.
We'll see how what our stamina is like as the evening goes on here.
I don't know if I'm feeling tired because we think it's later than it is, or if I'm feeling tired just watching my rank remain exactly the same every week.
Yeah, I sort of I've caught up with you, but okay. I guess let's just get it right into it then, shall we?
Let's do it. Yeah.
I think you want we fell back into our classic patterns this week for good or for ill. I have been aggressive this season, and it has backfired sometimes and it has worked out sometimes, right? And it's sort of like they've kind of neutralized. Depending on where this week ends up, I'm probably going to be at my highest rank since game week 3. And that was right when I decided to take it and make an ultra aggressive wild card, Brandon. Wild card out a lot of high performers for a lot of low performers, right? It seemed like a good idea at the time. So I've sort of, I'm like Jerry Seinfeld, Brandon. I've come out in the middle somehow here. So,
Right.
You are now it's been 7 weeks since then. How are you feeling? You feel like you're kind of stuck in place after game week 11? It's not over yet. There's still one match tomorrow.
I do feel stuck. I can certainly easily pinpoint what the problem has been. It was really I've lost 2 weeks to Phil Foden. And we did a Patreon pod before the game week 9 deadline, and I was contemplating Chris Wood and Guardiola in, or I ended up going with Mikalenko and Phil Foden,
which you did on the pod in real time. Maybe that's a dangerous game right there, is the real time transfer. I don't know if maybe you were concerned about ratings, Brandon, and it was like a season ending cliffhanger.
I will sacrifice my overall rank to get those numbers up for sure. I don't think it was a bad idea at the time. I mean, Foden was certainly coming back into the City squad. City, it cuts both ways. Foden's space became more secure because of injuries, and City's form has become quite poor because of all the injuries.
In Man City, we're about to play Southampton at home, going into game week 9. It's not. I don't think you have to retroactively bang your head against the wall too much. He also had a very good match in game week 9. But better, I think, in 9 than in 10. I haven't looked at his the underlying performance from Foden. It was one of I was watching multiple matches on Sunday. I saw him miss a pretty good chance. I feel like it was in the first half, but I assume you were watching more closely than me. So what did you think about Foden?
Well, I mean, he was fine. Yes, he didn't have as many clear-cut opportunities for fantasy points than he did against Southampton. And City they looked worse this week, certainly. They could not really create any big chances, and what chances they made, Haaland chief among them, it just really couldn't finish them at all. And Haaland was quite poor. Now, I don't want to get too morose about that transfer 2 weeks ago, because there is always a ripple effect over the course of a month plus. And so where I'm at right now with the Foden move is if I had done the Guardiola Wood move a couple of weeks ago, I would be in incredible shape right now, because Guardiola's hit in those 2 weeks, as his Wood. However, I wouldn't be in a position to, for free this week, get triple premium. So now I'm just totally enamored of the triple premium, and I would have, if I have already done Havertz to Wood, and now I can, for free on exact money, do Foden to Palmer. And so now I can I'm heading into that game week transfer window of just looking at in awe at my team, which is honestly never where you want to be, because that's usually when things kind of go poorly. To finish that point, I wouldn't be able to get Palmer right now if I had done those other moves. So it's an interesting fantasy conundrum of, would you trade those points for the last 2 weeks to get your optimal team at the moment?
Well, and we're about to be. I'm glad you brought up the premium situation, because I think that was really, if there was like a kind of big talking point in fantasy this week, and one that I think I kind of came to late. I was a little reluctant to embrace it, and it was, do we just kind of give up on Haaland at the moment? Like, is there enough kind of chaos at Man City with all of the injuries? We sort of joked on the Patreon pod late last week about Pep's really grumpy press conference, right? Where he was like, I don't know, everyone's getting a massage right now. They're all, on the train, whatever. I've got 9 players or whatever. This is like once a year, Pep has like a press conference like this, right? Where he's like, we have no money. We have no, it's a sort of like, he can't help it. Right. But it's fine. You
wonder though. I mean, it is posited that that's Pep's actually, he's communicating to his team in that moment of like, I see what's going on here. And I'm even going to communicate through the press to you that like, get it together. It's not that bad.
I guess so. But to me, it's like, it feels like more defeatist than that, right? It's kind of like, I don't know, like, we'll see if we can scratch out a point this weekend with our mash unit, So, and they didn't, they got Semenyo'd, which was, pretty awesome. I mean, I have been in the Antoine Semenyo fan club for, I don't know, for a year, right? Like, it hasn't been for multiple seasons, but going back to last season, I thought he was fantastic. He sort of lost a little bit of, I feel like he didn't really have the spotlight last year because he was sort of in a sort of complementary role to Dominic Solanke, who also had a great season for Bournemouth. But Semenyo was just this right wing who was just kind of making all sorts of things happen down the stretch for Bournemouth last season. And even with Solanke gone and Evan Nilsson coming in, he's still doing that. And it's sort of interesting because I don't know. It's like, I don't really know if I'm going to, he may not even stay in my team because there are actually so many sort of cheap midfielders. And I have to kind of decide between him and Morgan Rogers, I think, if I'm going to go with the three-mium approach, which I'm leaning towards as well, by the way. But at the moment, I don't know. There's a couple of injuries too. We've got Palmer is flagged now, and Morgan Rogers is flagged. And we need to see where these guys are over the next couple of days. They both should be fine. I mean, Morgan Rogers, it was like I couldn't tell if he just got kicked one too many times, right? Because he went down once, right? Like right around the 60th minute. I remember because I was like watching the clock. Did you start Rogers this week as well?
I did, yeah.
Yeah. So I was like watching the clock. I'm like, wait, is he going off here too? Because it was like 59-40 when he was on the ground. And then he went down a second time, and that's when they took him off about 10 minutes later. So I think he's probably fine. It's like the classic knock, right?
Contact injury.
Yeah, and I didn't even see what happened with Palmer.
He played the full 90.
Played the full 90, but now he's got a flag on the site too. So we'll see what the deal is there. It could be one of these like Chris Wood style injuries, right? Where Chris Wood, it was like it seemed like he was going to be fine, and he was, right? In general, there really are two kinds of 75% flags, right? There's the like seems like they're fine, should be fine, and the 75% flag that's really more like 0%.
He's out for 6 months, man.
Yeah, or like exactly. Like Eze was 75% until he was exactly like they were 75% until the manager definitively came out and said that they were. I don't know. You like never see a 50% flag anymore. I feel like like it's like 50% and 25%. Like those.
It's our polarized climate now, Josh. It's everything's very black and white. Either you're on one side or the other. Either you're injured or you're not.
Yeah, interesting. You think there's flag herding going on, like this poll herding? I keep
For
hearing
sure.
about. They want everything to be 75%. Yeah, maybe so. But anyway, just to get back to the premium thing for a second, because I think it really was interesting. And the question was basically, I think for a lot of us, we were debating between Salah and Haaland. You had Salah already, so it was a little easier for you to just sort of stick with Haaland. I would have done the same thing if I had Haaland. But not having Salah and wanting to sort of long-term make this move to have 3 premiums. And if you want to sort of get into that, we talked about it for like a half hour on last week's pod, right? So we don't think we need to rehash it, go through all of it again. But I think basically the idea is that it does seem like virtually every week there's going to be 3 out of 4 of these guys are going to, deliver. Interestingly, this was the week where it was just one, right? It was just Salah, and if you had Salah and you captained him, he just got 9 points, which isn't that much, but 9 points, with a Haaland blank feels huge, right? And so I think that was really, I don't think many people have no Salah or Haaland. I mean, it's possible, but I think most people have one of the two. And so you saw, I think, a big contrast in returns. And if you just had Salah and captain him, that was probably enough for you to be in a gray or green arrow. You and I actually both have, I believe, 3 players in the Monday match, right? Yeah.
I have Smith Rowe,
Yep.
you have Raul, and then we both have Mbomo and Robinson. So I guess we're rooting for mass chaos in the Monday night fixture.
Yeah, I forget, who did you bench to bring? You started your Fulham. Who did you bench that you could start your Fulham midfielder?
Yeah, I ended up benching Liam Delap so that I could start Emil Smith Rowe. So. Right. When we talked on Thursday night with our Patreon supporters, my thought was, well, this Leicester fixture is choice. That's grade A beef for Liam Delap. And the more I just thought about it, the more my real confidence in Ipswich is fully waning, and I just decided to trust that, and then also go for the fun of having as many players as possible in the final fixture of the game week, and also roll with my Fulham boys. So obviously I'm thrilled that I made that choice. And then I had Konsa, and the other choice I had to make this weekend was Konsa or Pedro Porro in my defense. Right. And I opted to bench Konsa, and then Villa are first to score. And I think, yet again, I've blown it. But, I won in the end, Josh. 1 point from Porro instead of 0 from Konsa. So I'll take that as a win.
I know. That's always the when the Konsa thing was whenever there's that late goal and you're like, well, who does that really help? I mean, obviously Solanke owners, but then it was well, it hurts the Konsa starters. They lose a extra point from that. Right. So, I think it was a really interesting week. And so what I ultimately ended up doing, and I'll share my team here just that we can talk through it a little bit, is I did end up making the move. It's funny. I actually went on, I went and kind of apologized on our Discord, because I was like, listen, I didn't talk about this move at all. On last night's pod where we talked about our moves for a half hour, because I just really was extremely reluctant to part ways with Haaland. And I ultimately decided it was worthwhile to do it, just because it was kind of the only way I could get to Saka as well, right? And so I'm sort of thinking it was a move that was sort of made with game week 12 in mind, right? Which is when the fixtures finally get a little bit better for Arsenal. And I think for you, it's a little different because you still have a wild card to play, right? And so for you, you don't necessarily have to be thinking long term.
I know, so man. It's so funny. I'm setting myself up for all of these perfect moves. Meanwhile, I have a wild card where I could just do it whenever I want it.
Yeah. What is? Are you thinking you might just? Yeah, you might just not use it. You may just hold off and
listen. I just like to
kind
flex.
Of a power move.
Sometimes I like to flex. And hey, listen, I put it in the comments. If you want to see Brandon not play his wild card, I want to hear from you.
Yeah. So I'm on 48 on the week so far. And so I brought in Gvardiol, and that has worked out extremely well, because I was debating between Gvardiol and Lewis, and you could certainly make it the case for Lewis is basically that he's 1.3 million cheaper, and felt like he was fairly locked into the squad, but not so fast, right? Kyle Walker comes back in, gets the captain's armband, the real life one, not the fantasy one. And then to make things even worse, Rico Lewis comes on as a late sub, right? So you're sort of getting the nightmare scenario for, if you're a Lewis owner. Whereas Gvardiol gets a clean sheet and 3 bonus last week, and then scores a goal. He didn't even celebrate the goal. It was the classic, I don't even know. I guess this is good, because they were down 2-0, and he wanted to get restarted.
Keep it rolling.
Yeah,
exactly. He's a soldier of fortune, Gvardiol. He's just out there to do a job and make sure they get the 3 points. Like a Hessian troop in the Revolutionary War, Brandon. Yeah, I like it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So he's I like that. Let's start calling Gvardiol the Hessian on this pod. Moving forward. I'm all for it.
Yeah. So Gvardiol and. But I dropped Haaland for Raul. I considered Solanke. That was the sort of algo recommended move. And Brandon, score one for the algos, because in the first half of that Spurs match, I was like, yeah, see, no, Solanke. This is like, this is smart. This is wise. Like us managers. Yeah, exactly. Humans win again. I'm watching these games. Okay. I know not to get Solanke, like smash cut to the end of the match where he's got 2 goals and an assist, and looked great too. Like totally completely different player. And he ends up in 16 points. So Raul, no pressure tomorrow. Just outscore Dominic Solanke 16 points and we'll be good. But yeah, so Rodgers came through that with 9. Jamie Vardy, who low key has actually been fine, like totally fine as my cheap forward. I got 5 points from him this week. A really nice assist actually too in the IU goal. And Jordan Ayew, by the way, just hanging around. Like he's going to be like Danny Welbeck at just 17 seasons in. He's still going to be getting minutes, for these squads. Not necessarily a starter anymore, but he can he can come in and do a job. Like this is his second sub appearance goal in 2 matches. So yeah, but I got an assist from Vardy. I got a goal and 2 bonus last week and a goal the week before that. So perfectly respectable returns for a sub $6 million forward. Watkins blanks, and I think that's really, looking ahead to game week 11. I think that's really where my brain is. And I have to say, Brandon, I did not think I'd be doing this in the pot, but I also didn't think I'd be dropping Haaland last week. So Watkins to Dominic Solanke looms as a possible game week 11 transfer.
What's your Watkins is about to price drop in the next hour while we pod. Do you have wiggle room there?
Yeah, he rose in price after I bought him. Okay, so he's at 9. I bought him at 9. He's at 9.1 now. Yeah. So it would just it wouldn't matter. So Watkins to Solanke, Spurs play Ipswich in game week 11. Makes some logical sense. I'd like to wait a couple of days to do it if I could, because they do have a Europa League match on Thursday. So ideally, I would wait until after that. We'll see how the price changes. I would probably take 1.1 change, like another one on the chin. I don't know if I'd take 2. Right. Yeah. And so, but I think that would feel like a fairly logical move. I also have, because I made this Haaland switch and brought in Salah, it actually freed up like something like 3 million. If I do Watkins to Solanke, that would give me enough money to move either Semenyo or Rodgers to Saka in game week 12. Okay. So it kind of, like the moves almost kind of pick themselves, I feel like, right? I mean, barring any serious injuries, I think that feels like a pretty logical move for game week 11 is just boom, Watkins to Solanke, right? Target, totally. A home match, great fixture.
And the fixtures coming up for Spurs too are really enticing. Some people will be thrown off by the Man City away fixture in game week 12, but they've got 2 home fixtures with Ipswich and Fulham on either side. Yeah. Followed by Bournemouth, like a Solanke return home. That's just got narrative written all over it.
Yeah, that's true. It's like it could go either way, right? Mm-hmm. It's like a non-celebration, I feel like, no matter what, right?
And then the 2 tough matches following that, Chelsea and then Liverpool with Southampton. I mean, those 2 tough matches are both at home for Spurs. So I feel like they're going to take a ton of confidence from this Villa result this weekend, after like going through a rough patch. Feels like a good time to have Spurs assets. Yeah. And
I know neither of us have been, and I should say we have not been super high on Spurs Solanke. I think you and I were both big fans of Bournemouth Solanke. Sure. Yeah. Right. And so it just he hadn't quite clicked for Spurs, had some injuries. Also hadn't really shown a particularly high ceiling, right. For Spurs so far. And does one half kind of wipe all that away? Like, what do you think about Solanke now for today's match?
How could it? It can't possibly. Like, what we've seen of Solanke at Spurs beyond that one half has been Mr. Back to goal, scarce, scant chances. But it could just be as simple as playing, more expansive, ambitious team like Aston Villa to open up the play a little bit more. Yeah, there was a little bit more space on the wings, and that just really favored Solanke. So he could just be a fixture player
Right.
perhaps. But just looking at the way managers are jumping, having kept the faith with Solanke, he's absolutely an asset to continue keeping the faith with, just given like if it's working for Spurs, it's going to work a lot. And his ceiling is like, so I think what we discovered this weekend is Solanke's ceiling is a lot higher than we would have thought. And it's still unclear what his floor is.
Yeah. And I think it's his price is low enough that you don't have to move everything, right? You don't have to completely shift your team around to bring him in. And so I do think he's, I hate to be like the prisoner of the moment like this, but I don't know, when a forward scores a brace and has one of the worst defenses at home in the next match, those moves are pretty simple sometimes, right? Like you don't have to overthink it too much. And then the question is really just, do you wait until Friday to make the move, or do you just go ahead and pull the trigger early? So did you say you already made your moves for game week 11?
Well, I did not make a transfer heading into this weekend, so I have 2 frees, and I've already moved Havertz to Wood because I have exact money to do this move, to do Havertz to Wood and Foden to Cole Palmer. Okay. So I've done one half of that to catch the Chris Wood price rise, and now I have 0.1 to give on Foden, but I can't manage a price rise on Palmer. So I'm just watching that, and I will. There's no real sense in me waiting too long. If there's news about Palmer's fitness, and of course, BB in the YouTube chat made a good point. It's that Martinez challenge at the end of the Manchester United match where he caught Cole Palmer on the knee, and
he's fine then. I mean, think like so. He like played the rest. I mean, he like had a chance shortly after that. So I think it's fine. Yeah.
Right. So there's really no reason for me to hold off because Cole Palmer won't be playing midweek because he's not on the Chelsea team sheet for Europa just yet. So anyway, that's right. I mean, what is Phil Foden going to do in the Champions League to make me be like, wow, I've got to hold him? I'm seeing De Bruyne on the bench for Man City. With like Foden's got to go like immediately. Now I don't even know if he's even going to play, nor is there any reason to keep him. And an Arsenal fixture for Chelsea, obviously it's tough. Arsenal have a good defense, but what a great time to play Arsenal. Like Arsenal were like in like severe I don't want to be around anymore mode this weekend. And I think Cole Palmer he clearly doesn't care who he's playing. I think he's playing really well. He had a kind of a downbeat match against Manchester United, but
it ended up being a tricky match, I think, just because of the manager change, right? I think the
United players were up for it for sure.
They were up for it, exactly. And I think that changed things a little bit. He had I guess he could have had an assist, right? It wasn't quite his day, but I think that match for me, I traditionally think of that, especially, I don't know, it seems like especially when Man United hosts Chelsea, that match always, I know it's like the most, they were saying today that in today's broadcast that it's the most drawn match in the Premier League. And that kind of squares up with my own memory. It does feel like every time Man United hosts Chelsea, it is like a 1-1 or 0-0 draw. And I'm not quite sure why that is, but let's go back just for a moment to the beginning of game week 10, because Arsenal did stumble again. They played away to Newcastle. Newcastle probably played their strongest match of the season so far. Another tough match for all Arsenal assets, right? Havertz with a 1-pointer, Saka blanked, defense concedes a goal. I think it was like the 12th or 15th minute. I can't remember when Isak scored fairly early in the game. And then that was kind of it, right? It was sort of, I don't know. Like I just like, it's I still feel like it's going to turn around. Like I mean, at this point, I guess I'm almost thinking more like in terms of fantasy results than I am like the actual team. Like
we've got our old Arsenal back, Josh, where they're playing for 4th place again, and we love it.
No, I don't love it. I actually hate it. However, I mean, who would have thought like the story this season was going to be like, to me, it was like Arsenal are finally there. Like they're finally going to push through, and then like Liverpool are sort of like not so fast. Like maybe we'll just steal this title. And but with Man City losing today, it actually like it's very open still. Clearly, right? Like it's. I actually kind of in my head I thought that Man City had already lost. I sort of was surprised when when I read that it was their first loss of the season.
Yeah.
Like they just had a couple of, I guess they've had these like really the draw with Arsenal, the late win over Wolves.
And have we been so warped by the last 5-ish years where you can only win the title if you're basically undefeated? Like Barclays, the Barclays era of the Premier League has been in the air this season. And let's go back where you can lose like 5 matches and still win the title. That's exciting. That's cool.
I think it's cool too. Like I hope we have a 3-way or more race. I think that would be awesome. The other cool story was and there were actually a couple of questions too about Forest, but Forest in 3rd place, which I think is so cool. Like I think it's really it's just fun. Like even kind of fantasy aside, it's just always like every year there's kind of one team. Like last year it was Villa, right? And I don't know that I genuinely think that Forest could get a Champions League spot, but I think that they sneak into like a Europa League spot. Sure. Maybe. I mean, they have a strong defense. They have some, Callum Hudson. They have players like Callum Hudson-Odoi who like are like highly pedigreed players, right? Who've battled sort of injury and form. I mean, there was a time a few years ago, I don't know if you remember this, when Chelsea were basically fending off Bayern Munich, who were making a big push for Callum Hudson-Odoi. So then he kind of had this like, it was like he was trying to break into that squad, and like it was like, oh, like let's make him left wing back Hudson-Odoi, right? It was like they were sort of like trying everything to make it work, and I just wonder if that kind of screwed with him a little bit. It's like it's like a baseball hitter who they're like, oh, like you should change your swing, right, so that you can hit more home runs, like change your launch angle, right? And then suddenly it's like they can't do anything anymore. And I just wonder, and last year he battled injuries on and off too. What also screws with your confidence? When your club buys 20 other left wingers. Right, exactly. Oh my God. And I thought Enzo was bad today. Also, Enzo, I don't know what, it's like the way he his haircut now, he looks like Cole Palmer on the pitch. It's really annoying to me. Like I was trying to, like maybe my TV just isn't big enough.
Brandon, Enzo Fernandez looks like Cole Palmer.
No, I don't in general. No, Cole Palmer is possibly the most distinctive looking person in the Premier League. But for some reason, when they were on the pitch today, there were like 3 or 4 times when I thought it was Cole Palmer, and then I was like, oh, that's Enzo with the ball. So I think he got like a different haircut or something.
Are you thinking of the right? Yeah. Like Enzo Fernandez came on like as a substitute very late in the match. Who knows?
Does he have blonde hair now? Am I like totally wrong about this? I'm going to do a Google image search for the last 24 hours.
I genuinely can't. Are you confusing him with Rasmus Højlund, perhaps?
No, I'm not. I don't know. We'll solve this mystery. Maybe am I thinking of somebody else? I don't know. Like, well, I'm going to do some digging.
I'm baffled. I'm baffled.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, we'll figure this out. So, but on Forest, I mean, so you brought in Chris Wood.
Yeah.
Aina, who you've been like, I know I jokingly often say this, but like he kind of is your boy this season. Sure. Like you've been big upping him all year, and so he gets the goal. I think he ended up with 3 bonus points as well in the match. So, their defense looks strong. Midfield, I don't know. I mean, Morgan Gibbs-White's been battling some injuries, and so it's kind of hard to recommend him. But Hudson-Odoi has sneakily been pretty good this season. Yeah. And let me see. Just let me pull him up real quick here as we're talking. He's now the top midfielder for Forest. He's got. I guess it's just 2 goals and 1 assist, so it's not like mind blowing. But I don't know. I just feel like the way they're clicking right now, there might be some interesting options there. I mean, maybe it honestly might just be Wood and Aina are the only 2 you really want to consider. Although Sells as a cheap keeper, like if I could go back and do my wild card again, and in fact, when you wild card, Brendan, I think Sells would have to be someone you'd consider, right? He's 4.6 million.
I'll take anyone. Like it's basically the first goalkeeper to get in line. Like you play that game when you're a kid, like last one to get to your knee or something like that.
Right.
Is it?
Right. Yeah.
First goalkeeper to touch a knee is my goalkeeper.
I mean, he's racked up an assist so far this season. He's got 4 clean sheets. Let's see, he's got 6 bonus points. I mean, he's probably been one of the better cheap keepers that you could have this season. I'm up on Forest. I'm rooting for them. I also like their red color, Brandon. Maybe I just like red squads. But I think aesthetically they're like a fun squad. Like they're a fun squad to watch this year. Yeah. I think in general, I actually like to watch most of the teams in the Premier League this year, like outside of Southampton. I feel like, I mean, the thing about Leicester, it's like you're talking about like benching Delat for that match. And I do kind of get it because they're not exactly pushovers. Like they concede goals, but like every match they play is like, so unpredictable. It's like you really don't know.
It's a little bit like that feeling you get when you're in a FPL head-to-head league and you have to play average that week.
Right.
I feel like when you play Leicester this season, it's like going against the FPL average.
Yeah, you're like, I should win this,
but I don't know.
And I'm going to lose more than I expect.
Yep.
So I think. I don't know. I think that like they're an interesting team. I'm actually just going to hold Vardy, by the way, for a while. Like I don't see any reason to like. I mean, if I could make an easy move to Wood at some point, I'll do it. But other's like,
how much does Vardy cost these days?
He's like 5.6, something like that.
Okay.
I mean, nothing, right? So I wouldn't even necessarily recommend buying him. Like they play away to Man United in game 11, but. All right, so like I'm just moving through my little my talking points for today's match, Brandon. What did you think about Gvardiol, by the way? He's 6.2 million, so he's very pricey. In general, we have not been getting a lot from keepers this season, but bonus in the last match, goal. I mean, there's something about the left back spot for Man City. It does seem to be a spot where I think maybe especially with Kyle Walker when he plays, right? Because he's so strong defensively, that maybe that is a spot where you could get a little bit more. I mean, like to me, he's probably the second, and maybe honestly the one other player you can have on Man City right now, outside of Haaland, right? I mean, it's kind of a mess otherwise.
It is. He's a strange fantasy asset, Gvardiol, because you really are relying on him getting attacking returns. Because I thought he had a really poor defensive match, and just City, obviously, nothing needs to be said beyond they've been horrible defensively all season. But he has this penchant for popping up and getting attacking returns. Yeah, and it's like, how much are you willing to spend? Because he doesn't get attacking returns the way a lot of fullbacks do, like the Trent Alexander-Arnold's of the world. Like I don't think I've ever seen Gvardiol cross the ball, but he's certainly looking to get on the end of a 1-2 or on the end of a cross. So I like him.
You're right.
That.
He's more of a goal scoring fullback than a like he's not Andy Robertson. Right, he's got like a very different kind of.
He's a Seamus Coleman, we could say. He's more a Seamus Coleman than a Leighton Baines.
Okay, yeah. Well, if he was on pens, maybe he could be a Baines.
Well, why not? Why not?
Why not? So let's see. He's got on the season so far. He's got 3 goals and no assists. Those 3 goals have come in the last 5 matches. So he's kind of. I mean, like I don't know. I really don't know. Like statistically, I don't know how to talk about streakiness or whatever, but he has been a very streaky asset in fantasy. We saw this last season as well, right? Where he put in a lot of good performances. Like he passed the eye test, right? Like when you watched him in these Man City matches, it was like, wow, this guy is like all over the ball. He's he's getting hugely advanced positions, like but he also had this run of 10 plus matches or something like that, like last season, where he just got no attacking returns, right? Just nothing. And he was, kind of expensive. And this season, kind of the same way. The first 5 weeks of the season, no goals and no assists. And now he's got 3 goals in his last 5 with a clean sheet and 3 bonus thrown in as well, right? And the 3 bonus comes at least a little bit from the threat that he was providing, right? On the left side. Like you said, I don't... much like Trent, I'm rarely impressed with his defensive capabilities. It was weird in the Liverpool match. There was some moment where Trent gave the ball away in a bad spot, and the announcers were like, "Unusual for Trent." I was like, "I don't think so."
That's what you pay for.
Yeah.
So I think with Gvardiol, he's the kind of fantasy asset that you kind of stumble backwards into. Like in the right game week, it feels right and you go for it. I can't see any grander plan involving Guardiola, like why you would like he would be a part of a team you were constructing over the course of a month, that sort of a thing. Because I think where we're at right now is like trying to extract as much money out of our defense as possible, because there's no real value there. I mean, you have Guardiola and Trent at this point. What's the deal there?
It's not going to last. But I think at the moment, I mean, it is tricky because one of the other talking points this week was that we had these great performances from the popular cheap midfielders, right? Rodgers with a goal and 2 bonus, Semenyo with a goal and 3 bonus, even Brennan Johnson came through with a goal. And it feels like a little polarized in terms of like you're getting returns from the 5 million guys and the 12 million guys. And it's like, you don't want to have like a 9 million midfielder, right? Or like, or even like a 9 million forward. Like I've had Watkins the last few weeks and he's been hugely disappointing, right? And it feels like
he's your Foden.
Yeah, he's my Foden, exactly. Yeah, he's my Rushmore, Brandon. And so that's what's happening with me right now. Yeah, I thought Brennan Johnson. I mean, he's like, talk about a player who's passed the eye test. He does look really good in these matches, and probably overdue to get a goal.
And he plays Leif Davis next week, who loves getting roasted on Brennan Johnson's side.
Talk about Leif Davis, the poor man's Gvardiol, right? With the I mean, I guess he's normally more of an assist guy than a goal scorer, but I mean, like he's no one's. He's no one's idea of a great defensive player, but he just gets
sensational
consistently
goal
gets
it
was awesome. I know I felt a little bad for them conceding because are they still without a win on the season too?
I believe so. Yes.
Yeah, and Southampton did pick up their first win too. Kind of a close one with that. That offside decision was really tight. I don't know if you saw the.
Mikolenko getting robbed of FPL points. People always complain about, so there's all this like esoteric fantasy crap like bonus point systems and and like where am I holding midfielder points? You know what I hate? I hate the fact that you get clean sheet points only to have them taken away, and that just doesn't. It makes everyone feel bad. Okay,
that's true. They shouldn't award the clean sheet points until the game is over. That's that's true, because I hate logging into my team when there's a clean sheet in there. Right? Yeah, I don't even like to look at it.
Cursing yourself.
Yeah, I thought you meant he had supplied the assist for the Beto.
No, I just wanted some clean. I just wanted some points. Oh, was that so much to ask?
It was so much to ask. It was too much to ask. All right. Well, one final thing here, Brandon, which is Man United assets. We get the Bruno pen. We also got a Haaland assist, I suppose, right? I mean, he earned the pen. Some really clowny goalkeeping from Sanchez, I thought, on that particular play. You just cannot touch the player, right? Like that's, of course he's going to dive. Like you and I would dive. If like a goalkeeper touches your feet, you have to fall over if you're in the box. That's just what you do, right? But like, I mean, defensively, I thought they were okay. Like you said, they were up for this match, and it took a kind of a screamer, right? A great goal from outside the box for them to even concede anything in this match. So did you come away like slightly more interested in any Man United assets, or did you think it was all just kind of a wash?
Their defense, I guess, was more impressive. Mazraoui was the player who I liked the most in the match. And my main issue with Manchester United was I thought their attack was pretty blunt and not great. Yeah. Like Garnacho was, I think, easily the worst player on the pitch, which, like, it's one match, and you would want to be very optimistic as a Manchester United supporter that things are going in the right direction, and Garnacho is allowed to have a bad match. Would I bank on Garnacho over Marcus Rashford at this point? Probably, but still, it was like Haaland, Rashford, Garnacho. I was like, well, this is like, I don't know how far you can go with these three guys up front. It feels like Bruno and Mazraoui were the guys who impressed me the most. I mean, is Onana going to beat Sells to the punch in my goalkeeping wildcard position?
Yeah. I mean, it's, their next, I mean, Yeah, I wonder if you end up talking yourself into an early wild card here, Brandon, honestly, because I mean, the trio of matches coming up for Man United are probably as good as it gets, right? They have Leicester at home in game week 11, Ipswich away in game week 12, and Everton at home in game week 13. So it's a trio of really strong matches. I mean, I think, I don't know, it's like, maybe it's not your particular squad, Brandon, but like just because I'm talking to you, like, but I think like someone out there, if they want to be a little bit different, this actually probably for the first time this season, Brandon, I'll say this, but this actually might be the time to get Bruno and just take a punt and see if he can deliver for you, because the chance of a like extreme return from him is never going to be higher than it is in the next 3 weeks, right? Like a high ceiling kind of return, like either Leicester at home, Ipswich away. Again, like they're unpredictable, like Leicester especially, but unpredictability can be good in fantasy too, right? Like you could see a bunch of goals, from both squads in this match. So I don't know. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I guess like I do think that I don't know, like Garnacho maybe. Højlund, I feel like the jury's still out. I don't quite believe it yet, but I don't know. And then you have Xerxes come on, and I'm always kind of like I forget he's there, right? I'm like, oh, like Xerxes, which is I always want to say Xerxes, by the way, too, like the old emperor or ruler. It's like an ancient Babylon or whatever, right? Yeah.
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 Well, I don't think you have to really spend too much time thinking about Xerxes. You'll be fine.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, well, let's move on here, Brandon. Why don't you give a quick Patreon promotion?
Yeah.
Why do you promote our Patreon?
I'd love to, and we don't want to sell it too hard, but every week, Josh and I, we show up and we put this content together for you. If you like what you hear, if you want to say thanks, and also get to be a part of what we feel is a pretty rich and rewarding FPL community. Sure. On our Discord, we hear that all the time. People having good live match day chats, joining extra mini leagues, and getting up to all sorts of funny stuff on the Discord. Plus, you get an extra podcast every week at the highest tiers. And they're not, when I say highest tiers, Josh, they're not that high. You can go to patreon.com/always cheating, find that tier that fits right for you. But we do love those Thursday night pods just for our Patreon supporters. Yeah. With no ads. We talk about our roughly final decisions right before the deadline. So yeah, check it out. Patreon.com/always cheating for more information on how you can say thanks and get more FPL content in return.
Oh, that's very soft sells. Like our friend Lex G trying to sell his Patreon. The most apologetic. Yeah.
Listen, you can join my Patreon, but if you don't, listen, I get it. Trust me, I really get it.
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't do it myself.
I think you're an idiot if you join my Patreon. Nonetheless, it's there.
Patreon.com/always cheating is where you can go. Brandon, let's now move on and take a look at game week 11. All right, so game week 11, and I will share. Of course, we'll talk through it, but I'll share it just so you and I can be on the same page. Brian, we can read from the same prayer book, as you like to say.
Yes, I'd love to say that.
Yeah, and so this is the final game week before the next international break. I know you were hoping it would come sooner, Brandon, but don't worry, you've got one coming. Yeah, we're almost there. It's they really jam them in. And I'm also sad to tell you this is the last international break, I believe, until March. So it's a nice. I know, exactly. Everybody, so are your kind of what is it, International Champions Cup, whatever they call this? I don't know.
Nations League.
The Nations League. I can't keep up with any of these things anymore, Brandon. They get rebranded all the time, and it's you can tell how I feel about them just from that expression there. So they do get, I will say, the international breaks get better when you have stuff like World Cup qualifying thrown into the mix, right? I think that does raise the stakes a little bit, but when it's just like friendlies, it's hard for me to stay.
Who cares? Who bloody cares?
Yeah, exactly. So, all right. So anyway, game week 11. So we have matches just on Saturday and Sunday. It's your classic post Champions League, Europa League split. Bunch of matches are on Sunday. So of course that is a reminder that on Tuesday and Wednesday, we have Champions League games. There'll also be games on Thursday, involving, I think, 6 Premier League squads play at midweek. So if you can hold off on your transfers, unless you're really tight on budget, I would try to do something. We saw just this last week with the League Cup, right, which in theory should be less of a lift, but the League Cup, there were a bunch of people knocked out from that, as a among them. So I think that it's an interesting slate of fixtures. I mean, the one that, as I talked about at the beginning of the pod, that stands out to me is that Spurs Ipswich match. And for me, I just don't have anybody for that match right now. And that feels like the one where I could really, it's a little bit like the Arsenal Southampton match several weeks ago, where I was like, well, maybe I can just skate by. Well, I don't need, I have one defender in that match. I'll just skate by and it'll be fine. Like how bad could it be not having Saka or,
Sure.
anybody else in that game? Yeah, it was terrible. It was it upended my season in some ways, right? I took a massive hit. And so that is the one where I'm like, I feel like I kind of want to get into that attack if I can. And so I am sort of looking at Solanke for that one. Let's see. Southampton. I mean, Wolves saw Southampton, the other squad where you want to target your fixtures if you can. And I will say again, Strand Larson continues to put in some nice performances. If they, I don't find Wolves to be trustworthy at all. I certainly wouldn't recommend bringing in any of their assets at the moment, but they're at least back in the conversation of sort of getting they're more fantasy relevant than West Ham at this point, Brandon. So that's something, I guess. Why
West Ham persisting with this Lopetegui? It's really kind of funny. At least O'Neill at Wolverhampton. I don't know. There's no point in talking about either of these teams. But Wolves is the bandwagon in FPL right now. Yeah. Cunha and Larson are the main guys, and Nuri as well. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So lots of fun, cheap guys to choose from, where West Ham, the players you might want to pick up, like Bowen, are just too expensive for what you're getting for that team. So I get it. But I agree. Wolves just don't they're just because the fixtures turn doesn't mean they're suddenly a good outfit. And I think they have so much still to prove. Yeah.
And you don't have that kind of one asset that like Hwang Chan last season.
I guess what they do is score goals. I think they may be one of the teams that's never they've scored in every match so far this season. Let's see. Let's look at their matches. Scored. Yeah. They've scored in every match. So goals, I guess, is what you're trying. Goals and assists is what you're trying to buy.
Yeah. Unfortunately, they concede at roughly a 2-to-1 ratio. I was thinking, and I know this isn't super fantasy relevant either, but just because it's on my mind, I was thinking watching that because that was I
guess Arsenal they failed to score against them. Anyway, sorry.
Okay,
go ahead.
9 out of 10 then. But there was the featured match for some reason on Saturday was this Wolves Palace game, and so I was watching it and I was thinking about whether, because both the goals, I mean, they were just they're so shaggy defensively, and it's and I was wondering, I'm like, is that on O'Neill? And if so, if it is on him, you have to sack him, right? It's I mean, or it's a talent thing or something, but it's if you actually thought that he was at fault for it, they've been so bad defensively that he would have to go. So I feel like it's not, and I guess I'm saying that because I don't know that it is him, but it's it feels weird that they're so poor defensively. Right.
Yes. You would think that, yes, the manager might be able to turn the screws there, tighten it up a bit, and it's being sacrificed. But maybe the club just says our only ambition this season, given the circumstances, is 17th place, and just given how much it would cost us to sack O'Neill, and we probably wouldn't get anybody remarkably better. Give him this good fixture run. I expect if Wolves are still firmly in the relegation zone after this run through the end of the year, then he'll be sacked for sure.
Yeah, I think so too. And I'm not advocating for sacking him. I think in general these squads probably move a little too quickly to sack these guys. But so anyway, well, I think we have an interesting slate on Saturday and Sunday. A very late match on Saturday. I love when they do this. They've been doing these a little more often, Brandon. And a late game, Liverpool hosting Aston Villa. I don't know what to think about Aston Villa anymore. I mean, it's a real like. No, I hate this cliche, but it's like, a tale of two halves situation, right? Like first half, they look, scoring a set piece, look pretty strong defensively. Second half, they concede 4, and I'm like, I don't know quite what to make of them right now.
I think they've really been bit by the same bug as Newcastle when they got to the Champions League.
Was that spread too thin?
Yeah, and also just like the learning curve to be fighting on those fronts, and the Onana coming into the midfield in place of Douglas Luiz, I think is like it's a good signing, but I just don't think it's clicked fully, and I think that really does weaken their. Just like what they're trying to do transitionally.
Yeah, and he went off as well, didn't he? Or maybe he just got hurt. I can't remember if he actually went off in the match in the end.
Hold on, I'm pulling up the match facts because I don't recall as well. I was Rodgers off injured. No, Onana stayed on the pitch the entire time.
Okay, he did, because I remember at one point he got like walloped by somebody. But yeah, and so I think that should be a fun match though. Regardless, I'm looking forward to Liverpool Villa. It's I don't know. Like, do you think that you'll captain Salah this week again?
It's between Salah and Haaland. There's really no great science to it. Salah is my bus team captain, but Brighton, there are reasons why we used Salah to target Brighton this week. They have injuries and they do play very open. So can Haaland just like pull the finger out? Can he actually start finishing some chances? If so, because I don't know. The big brain way of thinking of Haaland right now is, wow, maybe he's an edge to like be the last person who has faith enough to captain Haaland.
Yeah.
So I don't hate the Brighton away fixture for Haaland. And as you're saying, like I also do not hate borderline. I like the home fixture against Villa for Salah.
Yeah. I think that makes sense. And like how different is this conversation of Haaland just converts that massive chance he has late in the Bournemouth match?
I'd probably like I'd definitely be bus team Haaland all the way in that situation for sure.
Yeah. It feels like it's like reflective though of a little bit of it's like it's on the one hand, sure, it's unlucky, and the other hand, it's like reflective of him he's just not smashing the ball the way he kind of does when he's like in really good form, right? And filled up with confidence.
The chances just aren't that good, and there's just too many crosses that he's being asked to convert because he's terrible in the air, unless he's doing like a scissor kick or something. Like there is just not enough space for Haaland. I think that this is why another reason to just get rid of Foden ASAP. Because De Bruyne seems crucial to help Haaland find that space.
Yeah, there's something about, I don't know if it's something to do with Rodri not being there or something like that, but it's like I feel like the Haaland really thrives, and I think KDB and Rodri have both been good at sort of finding him in these spaces where like he's kind of like halfway in between the center circle and the opposition goal, right? And it's like if you can get him in the ball with space, like in that area, he is so good. I feel like driving forward and using his speed, and I feel like, but the way the matches have been going, and I'm not. Maybe it's just because the ball is getting more clogged up midfield, and so the other team isn't committing as many players forward, and so they're able to kind of get back and stop these chances. I'm not really sure, but
City just have the ball all the time, in their
but
third,
doing nothing. They have the ball all the time, and they're scoring like a goal a game. It's like it's just not. And so he's in the box constantly, right? And just like it's like he turns into like some Tony Pulis forward, right? Just like waiting for something that he can put his head on, right? And like that's sort of I agree that he's not thriving in this current role. So, but with that said, I think I agree. I think it's pretty close between Haaland and Salah. I suppose Solanke as a captaincy feels a little too like, what have you done for me lately? Son, I actually wouldn't mind if you had Son in your squad. I think Son, if such match, I just feel like I have all these memories over the years of Son captaining Son for these like easy fixtures and him like not, because you know he is so good on the counterattack, right? And he's so good at like converting these low XG chances. And sometimes I feel like when they're playing a team that they're just like clearly better than, it doesn't actually suit his.
You just gave me a great idea. Like, all these optimal stats and predictive models for fantasy. I want a model that's just sheerly based on your memory.
Hey, how about this for an idea? By the way, this is not related to what you just said, but why don't you use this other transfer to bring in Son this week and then wild card in game week 12? Why don't you have Son for this for the Ipswich fixture and then kind of plan to dead end your team and wild card into the next game week? I mean, game week 12 is already a good time to wild card anyway, so that's an interesting idea.
I'm not convinced that Son is a worthwhile fantasy asset. I
did just outline all the reasons not to necessarily, but I'm just saying like it's an interesting strategy. I think that there is some like it could work, right? Because
sure, yeah. I mean, and game week 12 over the international break is a fantastic time to wildcard because Arsenal do have that huge fixture turn, and Cole Palmer becomes like even more like his fixtures are even more enhanced as well. Yeah. So lots of different teams that you want to jump on. So I don't hate treating game week 11 as kind of like a wild punt sort of a game week. I get it.
Yeah, I mean, especially because I don't think that Palmer is like super essential for game week 11 anyway, right? Because even with Arsenal flailing a little bit, I don't see Chelsea scoring like 3 goals in this match, right? I think it's going to be they may score 1 and he scores that goal, but I just don't see it as like a wide open kind of game. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but
I don't know what to make of it either. I mean, I think it's going to resemble a lot of what we saw in the Chelsea Manchester United match today. Right. I think it might look pretty similar to that, and then I thought Chelsea just like really didn't call upon their attacking prowess enough, which it was kind of odd. Yeah. Like they just didn't show what they could do. And Nicholas Jackson was like incredibly anonymous until I realized he got a yellow card. And I'm just like, how does this guy always somehow find a way to get a yellow card, even when you don't even see him on the pitch? Yeah. It's very, very funny to me.
Yeah.
I don't know, but having Foden going into game week 11 also feels like, and these just like bitter tears of Foden just being a complete dud the last couple of weeks, does feel like he's a waste of a spot in a fantasy squad for 1 week, and that does feel way too passive for me. Like Foden, yes, as you say, sense. Like Foden doesn't have to become Palmer. He could become anyone playing these fixtures. He could become Brennan Johnson for that matter.
Right.
Let's see, who would be like the other plum fixture, like Southampton? Who does Wolves?
Wolves. Okay. Yeah, I mean, it would really probably be
Lamina.
What's that? Yeah, Lamina.
Lamina.
Yeah, bring in Lamina, Mario Jr. as he's now called on the website.
It's me.
Yeah, it's Mario Jr. I guess. I mean, honestly, like you could look at Bruno as a again. It just sort of
I mean, interesting.
Yeah, I mean Bruno. I actually think there's like a quite good chance he gets some kind of attacking return in that Leicester match. So I guess again it's a luxury for you a little bit just because you have this wild card that you could maybe punt and maybe try to get one up on other managers, right? Like that's sort of the advantage of having that wild card still is you can always, and also they play Ipswich in 12, so you wouldn't be dead ending with him. So I don't know. It's an interesting thought.
Well, then that's another reason for me to just like punt on the wild card, bring in Bruno and don't play the wild card.
Yeah. As we all know, Bruno Fernandes solves all fantasy problems, always has, always will. All right. We got a couple questions here, Brandon.
Sure.
Let's get into them. I think I have 2 questions that I've selected. One is from FPL Brooklyn. Arsenal have just not been clicking offensively or defensively. Should we stick for their game week 12 fixture swing? So this is a key question, I think, at this point.
It's really interesting. I thought their lineup against Newcastle was pretty solid. Acknowledging that Odegaard is out.
Right.
Their defense was, there were lots of injury concerns, and I thought they had a pretty strong defense that they lined up with. So it's like it's not a personnel issue. There just seems to be a real mental block, and that's the thing. I guess that's the root of the question: is do good fixtures help even the most depressed team? And Arsenal seem kind of depressed.
I think the answer is yes. Actually,
okay.
Like, for the record, I do think that, like, I mean, defensively, that's the thing that's like giving me a little bit of pause. I mean, they're certainly like their numbers are still fine defensively, but it does feel like I don't know, it's just a weird time with them because you don't really have that like one. And I guess that's what I mean. Like if you're like, okay, like I guess just to sort of look at the whole team, Saka, yes, like I think that Saka is fine kind of regardless of fixture. We saw that last week too, right? Game week 9. And like he had one blank and Newcastle away. It's always a tricky fixture, especially whatever reason for Arsenal, right? There's just like these certain, I don't know why there's certain squads that just seem to struggle with certain teams, right? It's like, it feels like for a long time, it was like Man City and Crystal Palace had this like weird, but when Arsenal go to Newcastle, it's just always a tough match. And so it seems like Newcastle are kind of like especially up for it or something. And so I think long-term, he's still a buy. I mean, I think you could buy him as soon as this Chelsea match and it'd be fine. Defensively though, I think it is a little bit trickier because it's Gabriel, right? And that's kind of it. I mean, like at this point, I wouldn't rebuy Saliba. I don't think that's, I mean, I guess long term, like I think he's fine, but like I would go Gabriel first if I was going that way. But again, it's just like, they don't feel super solid at the moment. And, they're conceding a lot of goals. And so basically you're like bringing him in the hopes that you get they get a bunch of set pieces, right? And he can like get his head on one, which is like an argument for him, like for sure. Like I'm not diminishing that, but I don't know. It's like outside of Saka, there's no one I'd be really excited to bring in right now.
Yeah, they're really the Man City defense right now. Is they will make one or two huge mistakes. This Arsenal defense a match at this point. Yeah, there's something going on there, and I mean Havertz, Saka, I think they will get their points. A huge concern with the Arsenal attack is just like how bad Trossard and Martinelli have been just the last couple of weeks. Like Trossard in particular this weekend was quite poor, but there's just no magic anywhere else in the team right now. In the midfield, like Rice and Moreno. I can never remember that guy's name.
Moreno. Yeah.
There's just not a huge amount of dynamism in that partnership yet. I think there will be. This Arsenal team is built for next season, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. Well, it's just like there was like some moment when like it was like Declan Rice like does his best to try to create a goal by himself, and I'm like, is this like a problem? Is this like an actual problem that needs to get solved at this point, which is that Declan Rice like doesn't want to be a defensive midfielder anymore? And it's like, is there a connection? I mean, it's obviously a great player, but it's like
his set piece delivery was horrible against Newcastle.
I'm just like, could they be creating better chances if he wasn't kind of like soloing it, where he's like, I'm going to run in, I'm going to be like vintage Yaya Toure, and I'm just going to like.
But he's not doing that. That's just commentators loving like the handsome, pristine looking Englishman / Irishman.
Maybe so. I feel like I'm seeing a little too much of it myself, but I don't know. Okay. Something's going on with that defense, and I'm not quite. Or maybe it's just, I don't know. It's only 10 weeks, right? I mean, it's still a, cliche alert here, Brandon, but it's still a small sample, right? Like I think, I think by the second half of the season, Man City and Arsenal will have figured it out, and we'll be seeing a bunch of 1-0 and 2-0 matches, right? I think that's what's coming. So for better or worse, I guess kind of for worse. What's fun about that,
Well, so long as Liverpool continue winning, then you've got there's the drama.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I mean the drama, like in terms of the table, but I just mean like I do feel like we've seen the last couple of years a bunch of these matches where it's like there you have two highly motivated teams playing a bunch of teams that like are kind of locked into their spot, right? And so it's just like 1-0, 2-0, 1-0, 2-0.
I gotcha.
All right, last question's from Neymar Butlins, Brandon. He says this is more of an existential question. At what point do you stop and ask yourself the question, what is my team? I feel as though I've been following so many pieces of advice and adding so many random players who I'm not sure about or not watched play with my own eyes.
Yes.
I want to make fantasy fun again.
Yes.
But I also want to make my own team, my team again.
100%.
How do I do that?
I mean, the answer is quite evident, I think, is you have to stop
all always cheating content,
stop seeking advice, taking advice, looking at other people's team. I mean, the whole when fantasy content and discussion is at its best, and it's something, we strive for, we don't always achieve, is, let's talk about fantasy in terms of how much did you have a good week, a bad week? Did you watch any matches? Was it cool? Yeah. I don't want your Excel. Okay. I don't, this isn't not like this is not meant to be a little mean-spirited rant.
Baseball was better before, Moneyball.
Anyway, I
know what you mean though.
This question resonates with me because, I find myself in this position all the time. I mean, I guess like Foden, just to he is like my example for everything on this episode. Yep. That was a decision that I made without necessarily looking at for advice or consulting any tables or anything like that. Like I did it. It was all me. Yeah. And still, when I look at my team right now, there's something about the aura that it puts out that doesn't feel like something that I necessarily wanted or
missing a 6 million goalkeeper is really what's,
right. Yeah. I mean, come on. You gotta if that's your calling card, you gotta honor it. It's like the who are the water bandits, or who are the guys in Home Alone?
The wet bandits.
Wet bandits, they had the argument like we can't turn the water on because that's how they'll catch us. And he's like, no, but we got to have a calling card. So even if it like is to your detriment.
To be fair, Joe Pesci, who didn't want to do that, was validated in the end, right? Because they said, we found all these. We have all these other crimes where they did the same thing, so now we can retroactively.
It's fine. That character did get his comeuppance in the hit movie Casino, which we talked about last week.
That's
I think
true.
It was crazy what they did to the wet bandits in that cornfield.
That's true. Daniel Stern. He's in the. You can't see him actually, but he goes into that. He goes into that shallow grave first. I think. Yeah.
That would be incredible. If it was part of Casino. Was part of the Home Alone universe.
Came out around the same time. It's very possible.
But yeah, like I think I think you've got to make sure that there is your DNA in your team. Otherwise, you're 100% gonna be not gonna have fun unless you're like winning the FPL, and that's hard. That's a tightrope.
Yeah, I think this was me a year or two ago, and the answer is you just have to drastically reduce your amount of consumption. I think of fantasy content. I mean, again, I hope you continue to listen to this podcast. If you're an hour in, then I think you're a fan or a supporter or whatever. But like, there's a lot of I just basically don't spend time on Twitter anymore. That was kind of the way that I solved this, right? Like I was just on there too much. I was watching too many teams, and it just gets in your head. And then it's honestly like there's a bit of like fear of missing out, right? You're just like, man, like everybody's gone for this player. If he delivers and I'm on here all day on Saturday or whatever, I'm just going to be kicking myself and feeling like I'm the biggest idiot for not doing that. But if you're not on these spaces all day, then that stuff can't hurt you, right? And so I think that's. you can go the other way and be like, oh yeah, like when they don't do well, I get to have Schadenfreude or whatever. But like that's not like the greatest emotion either, right? Like it's not like the healthiest way to be like, oh, I'm just like playing to root against people or whatever, right? So, it's like better to just like, again, this is like the big theme for us this year, but it's like focus on your mini leagues, like, like focus on that, worry about that world. And then it's like, what are the people in your mini leagues? What do their squads look like? Right. Like maybe you've got to be the one who sends the email every week, or gets the mini league mate dossier and distributes it, right? Like the way you do, Brandon, twice. You do it for 2 different leagues.
I love my mini league mates.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, and so like invest in that stuff. And then I think it doesn't matter so much. Like you won't worry so much about whether you have like the right players or the right template or whatever.
Practically speaking, though, how do you make sure you have good players you like who are still good fantasy assets? So it's all well and good to say, well, just fill your team with guys you like. Right. And that's how you end up with like Adam Wharton in your team or something.
Yeah.
Like
I mean,
that.
I think like you've got to use you have to you have to be like a little bit of strategically smart about some of this stuff. Right. And you got to have some common sense. And I think, I will say though that even though I've reduced my consumption, I'm still I have two different like FPL Review, which we talked about in this podcast before, and Mikkel talked about them. These like services where they just like produce numbers, right? And believe me, like I am not just like picking the stuff that's generated from there, nor are you, right? I mean, we certainly talk about them and they're interesting, but that at least always gives me but like, listen, like they've had. Bruno has been at the top of these charts for like 10 weeks, right? So like clearly, like it is not.
This was Eze for like months.
Eze for so long as well, right? It just has been doing nothing. I guess he got an assist last week, and so. But that at least I think gives you like a little baseline, right? Like the Mikkel Talkman thing, I think it's like 199, right? It's like nothing, and then you can at least like pull up a little data chart and be like, okay, because it's like okay, I see, like maybe I should look at these 5 players just because they're all at the top of the chart and they weren't necessarily on my radar. And then you look and you're like, right. Like, it's like Man United, right? Where you're like, oh, I didn't realize they played Leicester, Ipswich, and Everton in the next 3, right? And so maybe I should be considering them more seriously. Stuff like that.
For sure. All right. Yeah, you can do this. Yeah, I think by Christmas, your team will have a little bit more flavor. I'm sure of it. Neymar Butlins. Also,
Butlins.
change your fantasy team name to Neymar Butlins FC. I think that sounds fun.
Sounds a little bit like Leroy Jenkins, doesn't it? Leroy Jenkins. Classic. All right, Brandon, let's wrap things up here. Thank you so much for listening. I am feeling, by the way, that fall forward all of a sudden. It's hit me like a brick. Yeah. Just one brick, not a ton of bricks, but one's big, like a huge brick. Right. And can't be a load bearing, or maybe it's the one load bearing brick, Brandon, in the pile.
The whole house of cards is about to collapse if we don't sign off pretty soon here.
Yeah, quite right. So go to patreon.com/alwayscheating to support the podcast, get access to the Discord and the extra podcast that we do each week. Brandon, do you want to thank our producer patrons?
Of course. Thank you. Producers Mike DePietro, Trevor Ingerson, Dave Wagner Lodahl, our buddy Chris Howell, Andy Penn, Nick Wright, Lazaros Llanos, Jesse Halstead, Bruce Kerr, Brian Chin, Bob Ascoon, Ron Frost, Blair Jacobson, Todd Byerly, Andy Portlock, Dan Parsons, Terrence O'Donnell, Kerry Swanson, Jefferson Turner, as he does it, Francis Moore, Sam Shower, Craig Jackson, Caleb Robbie, Brian Clark, Thomas Tislov, Fro Jacobson, the St. Gareth H., Shalin F. Kadaki, Arishi Nigam, Noah N. Louise, Travis Grant, Linus Vennerstrom, Matthew Skinner, Ben Coombs, Eric Kite, Rune Sandberg, the 3 Jims, James Murray Wood, James C., James Holland, Jack, and of course, for all your maths needs, go to Craig at Total Maths Tutoring. Rate, review, subscribe to the Always Cheating Podcast wherever you get your podcasts, or find us on YouTube, youtube.com/@alwayscheating, and find us where all social media can be found.
Absolutely.
And the website, alwayscheating.com.
All right, thanks, everybody. We'll talk to you next week. Bye.